Now let's proceed to the last panel, Youth Innovation Future, that is looking into the continuation of Polish-Israeli relations. This panel is moderated by Mrs. Katarzyna Rybka-Iwańska, the head of the communications and public diplomacy from the Polish Embassy in Israel. Kasiu, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to actually see this conference, all together and see so many people joining us today. It's been a great adventure, for all of us who have worked on this conference, and we have all of us very happy that we can meet today. And let's see, what our panel, the last panel, is going to bring to the table. And since it's the last one, it's going to be probably the most future-oriented one. Even though all the panels were trying to tackle the future, we are going to tackle the future the most. Let me introduce our panelists. Here with us, we have today Ms. Justyna Orłowska, Poland's Prime Minister's High Representative for Government Technology, the Director of the Chancellery of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Poland, who brings innovation closer and closer to public administration, and this is what we really need. So thank you very much for all your efforts and for everything that you do. I know that you are preparing also a wonderful festival, GovTech Festival, and we are keeping our fingers crossed for that. My dear friend Ewa Węgrzyn from the Israeli Embassy in Warsaw is going also to contribute to this panel after Director Orłowska. And next, we are going to have a case study delivered by Dominika Zakrzewska-Oleńska from the Living Bridge Foundation and Vera Korsoński from SparkPro, who will explain to us what kind of an innovative model of bridge building between Poland and Israel they run. Last but not least, we have also three gentlemen who joined our panel today. These are very talented, very impressive, hopefully future diplomats. Ofek Maciej Gorazdowski from the Polish Forum of Young Diplomats. Ofek Sapir, the president of IMUNA, Israeli Model United Nations Association, as well as Tom Levy, Israeli youth delegate to the United Nations. And I hope that these three gentlemen will tell us what they think, how much can the young generation, young professionals, what they can bring to the table when Polish-Israeli relations, as we could hear from the last panels, it's not an easy topic to handle, what they can bring to the table of the discussion regarding the future of our relations. Director Orłowska, my question goes to you now. And I would like to ask you, how do you think, you're dealing with innovation a lot, how do you think, what can this innovative, out of the box model of thinking, what can it really bring to the future of international relations? We see during 2020 that actually almost all of us, if not all of us, needed to reinvent ourselves and most of the time reinvent our work. This is exactly why we meet today. We cannot organize like a normal traditional conference to have everybody, mixing, networking, having wonderful panels, and having wonderful conversations. This is what we could do, and this is what we did for everybody to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the renewal of Polish-Israeli relations. My question goes to you. How do you assess that? How can innovation help us proceed with international relations when actually, one would say not too much of, like real diplomacy is possible when we can't meet?
Yes, thank you for a warm introduction, and thank you for invitation for this great event.
Open your camera.
You cannot see my camera, okay.
Yeah.
Why so?
Yeah, now we see you. Thank you very much.
Okay, someone helped me, thank you. Okay, so thank you very much again, and it is great to meet you, all of you here at Zoom, via Zoom, and hopefully we will be able to get to know in real life as soon as possible, because of course digitization is a great tool and we cannot live without it, but at the end of the day, it will be great to meet you in person, all of you, and I hope it will be sooner than later. Okay, so today we celebrate 30 years of renewed our diplomatic relations, and this is more than Wikipedia, back then Nupedia, and just like them, throughout this time we have built a network in which around 50 million elements exist, exchanging knowledge and collectively growing stronger and more stronger. But what is even more important is how we look at the future. The future in which diplomats made of zeros and ones, digital numbers, play just as important role as those made of flesh and blood, like we are here. And now I would like to say that it prides me to say that our two countries have already built such a digital tool, digital ambassador, and I congratulate the creators of the Poland-Israel app, allowing our people to build and maintain connections exceeding national borders, age groups, and languages. And of course, modern diplomacy is not just about common hardware, I can say, but also about common software. So relationships. And this is why we are so looking forward to next month's debate on AI, organized by the Israeli embassy, thank you for that, as part of the GovTech festival, which I represent. This is a sign that a good relationship with innovative tools is immune even to the pandemic. And finally, the fact we are now holding a digital conference to celebrate this 30 years of our relationship makes me look with great anticipation to what we can achieve in the next 30 years. And what President Lech Kaczyński said, Poles and Israelis are cousins, and thus, instead of diplomatic relationships, I feel we should have family relations. And now I can see that, of course, it is a real quote, and it is the truth. And as I said at the beginning, I can't wait to see all of you in your life, either in Poland, in Warsaw, or in any other city, or in Israel, or in other country around the world. Why not? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Edith, would you like to give a comment and maybe present us a little bit more about the upcoming events that you organize? Please go ahead.
So first of all, can you hear me? Because I was just on.
Yes. Yes.
So first of all, I wanted to congratulate the Polish Embassy, Ambassador Magierowski, UKASH, for organizing this conference. I know it was a lot of hard work making it all happen, and it was great, and I had a lot of pleasure of being throughout the day here. So congratulations, and thank you very much for this opportunity to have a few short words. I don't want to give all our, let's say, surprises or secrets that Justyna was talking about, the AI project. So we do invite all of you to participate, and I feel like it's a natural for me to, or people to expect that somebody representing Israel will talk about innovation, but I want to leave that aside because I think that is an issue that is covered all the time. We have great cooperation, as Justyna said, we have good relations here in Poland and in Israel, and organizations from all over are wanting to collaborate on that. So I think that represents itself in itself, but I do really want to focus on youth and future. As you said, other panelists talked about it before, and Ambassador Magierowski opened his opening remarks by saying that for the past 3 decades, a lot of people did a lot of efforts and a lot of work to contribute to the stage of where Polish-Israeli relations are at this point. And I think that we focus a lot at the embassy, and I'm happy that we have such good partners as the Polish Embassy in Israel, which see eye to eye on that matters, on the younger generations and the youth, because we feel that they are now will be responsible for the next 3 decades, 4 decades, 5 decades, for how the Polish-Israeli relationship will be looking in the future. Some of them realize this responsibility and take it very seriously and work together with us, with the embassy, on several different great projects, which we're very proud of. And others, we help them or work with them, having an open dialogue, sometimes not with easy questions, but we encourage that. We encourage the curiosity, we encourage the asking of questions and studying and researching about that, and we'll do whatever we can from our side to support that. We feel that it can be, as we said here, in different fields, whether it's the cultural or the historical, the academical, but again, it focuses on our mutual interest in the future. I see Tom here with us and people like him and his partner Ruth, which I think doing a great job at our delegation, the Youth UN. They will meet each other on fields like that. They will meet each other in the future in the UN. There will be future politicians or culture makers or setting any future trends, and they actually have the power in their hands to form our Israeli-Polish relations. We'll look for the next 30 years. I hope they'll do a great work. We trust them, we rely on them, and we will do anything we can to help them make it happen. So once again, thank you for the great work you do. Thank you for the great work that all the panelists here do to promote this important cause. And we on our side are always happy and willing to do whatever we can to make this future a better future for Israeli-Polish relations for us also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Irit. Now we're going to jump to Vera and Dominika. And actually what they are going to say, I mean, I know a lot of what they are going to say because we cooperate very closely with Spark Pro organization and with the Living Bridge Foundation. The embassy has been cooperating with you guys for many years already, and actually Vera, together with Boaz Yardeni, who is also with us and is also from this organization, Spark Pro organization, are going to receive soon Benemerito badges. It's the appreciation of their work to promote Poland abroad, and we are very happy to be able to present. Hopefully soon, let's keep our fingers crossed to present you with these badges. I really wanted you guys to give us a short presentation about your model, because it's very innovative and it very much speaks to what Director Orłowska and Irit said about like innovative thinking and also reinvention of what we can do, because Corona epidemic struck you as much as did struck us in March, and but you have reinvented your projects and you have done a lot to go digital 100%, and that's been an awesome thing to observe and to support and keep our fingers crossed for. And I'm giving the floor to you, and please present how innovative you are. Please unmute yourselves. Okay, great.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me, correct?
Can you make yourself a little bit louder?
Is it better like that?
Yes, much better.
Excellent. First of all, Kasia, thank you very much for your warm words and greetings. I would like to pass the floor for my colleague, Ms. Dominika Zagrzewska, and then I'm gonna continue our path.
Thank you very much, Vera. So I will present a little bit starting from what we did and how it developed during the times up to today's digital cooperation. So we started the Living Bridge Foundation in 2012 after several years of carrying out Living Bridge project. That was actually at the beginning a grassroots idea connecting young people from Poland and Israel. From the very beginning, our main partner was Spark Pro organization from Israel. And over the years, it was much more partners joining us either for specific projects or the series of events. The aim of Living Bridge project is to promote a dialogue and cooperation as a way of achieving better life standards and opening possibilities of getting intercultural experience for students from both countries. The idea was based originally on the contact hypothesis, which assumed that only through getting to know the other, we can actually develop mutual understanding and finally bring it to the level of cooperation and mutual support. So during our programs for young Poles and Israelis, we experienced observing that people who for several days lived together, learned together and experienced both enjoyable and also the difficult moments, were much more likely to develop friendship and establish mutual relations that lasted much longer than during the end of the actual seminars. One of the most essential outcomes of our activity is fighting the stereotypes and prejudices by giving people a chance to experience the contact with each other, with people from our national, cultural, ethnic, religious groups, under supervision and support of qualified and experienced facilitators. All of that made us put a lot of effort to also ensure the participation of representatives of the minorities from both countries in the groups that we led. Although we include in our seminars the topics from the past, present, and future, in each of the programs, the emphasis is put on finding possible current connections between the people and the chances for future cooperation and mutual development. So we set ourselves a goal to strengthen also the leadership skills of the participants, to support them in having the influence on wider public audience and being able to share the values and knowledge that they shape during participation in our programs. Besides the students who are the initial target audience of our projects, we also found it very important to work especially with people who have the significant influence on children and youth, namely teachers and educators, because we believe that they play a crucial role in raising new generations and shaping their attitudes. So after the several editions of the Living Bridge in the way that I just described, that was directed to the general audience of teachers and students, we started also to implement the thematic seminars that were aimed at connecting and giving a platform to share good practices for young professionals and entrepreneurs from various fields from Poland and Israel, what resulted in starting a number of fruitful partnerships in business, science, art, and education. We are also proud to help through our programs to establish cooperation between a number of educational, academic, and non-governmental organizations and institutions. This year, as it was already mentioned, we were forced by the pandemic to give up live contacts and to switch to the electronic tools for communication. So that made us to give up the way that we knew in leading out our projects and think out of the box of how we can still promote the values that we want to shape in our participants, but do it using the digital ways of working together. So together with people who were the former participants of our projects, we came up with the innovative idea of a project that is not only a digital exchange and cooperation project, but also an initiative that allows students to have a real influence on how their countries are presented to the younger pupils, both in Poland and Israel, by creating a digital educational materials that are to be used in further projects in cooperation with a number of cultural centers and educational institutions. In this project, we decided on a participatory approach in which participants, with the support of professionals, create the materials and decide about the subjects that are the most important for them to share with peers from the other country. So that allowed to present Poland and Israel through the eyes of young citizens to the younger generations. Thanks to that, the project Future Cooperation in Digital Education gives a practical and feelable outcome for both sides. During the years of Foundation's operation, we carried out a number of projects in which participated every year tens of young adults and young professionals from both countries. And all of that would not be possible without the cooperation with public authorities and academic institutions from both sides. So here we would like to especially express our gratitude for the long-term support on various levels of development of our projects. for the Prime Minister Chancellery and the Public Diplomacy Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Poland, also to the Israeli Embassy in Warsaw, and to our long-term partner, David Yellin Academic College of Education in Jerusalem. So let me here pass the stage or the screen, this case, to my colleague Vera, who is coordinating our projects for from the Israeli sides. And then we, of course, welcome all the questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Dominika, to my amazing colleague that I used to work for the last 10 years. Kasia, thank you very much. I really appreciate your efforts and the possibility to be here on this amazing event. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. It is a really exciting event. Dzień dobry, shalom, and good afternoon to everyone. As it was told, my name is Vera Korsonski, and I represent Spark Pro Israel, the organization which focuses and specializes on an issue of intercultural dialogue and cooperation between young adults, students, young professionals, lecturers from academia, community activists, and sees this kind of cooperation between civil society as highly important value. Very unfortunately, the discussion in the society mostly concentrated on 5 years of gray and complicated common history. It's needless to mention, I think, but we would like to propose the alternative to this kind of discussion. We want to see new vision, innovation, and contribution to future, and to bring future as a highlight, and is what was mentioned by one of the panelists, Mr. Janusz Makuch, we want to concentrate today because future starts from today. During the last decade, I'm part of the team of the Living Bridge, Żywy Most, and Gesher Chai, Poland-Israel project for intercultural dialogue, in which took part hundreds of students from leading academic institutions and different backgrounds from both countries. Studied between Poland and Israel, the model already implemented by our colleagues in other countries such as Germany, UK, Finland, and others with significant success. The concept of the project is to create base for long-term and stable relationship of trust and understanding, active personal and professional cooperation in fields such as public diplomacy, education, cross-cultural psychology, music, women entrepreneurship, small business development, and many others. Main pillars of the Living Bridge project are sharing knowledge in a variety of topics and also history of Poland and history of Israel in order to create stable platform for cooperation. And integration, which means the creation of bilateral working groups and teams and spending time together. Decreasing stereotypes by having powerful and fruitful discussions. And finally, executing of local community volunteering activities in order to involve its members and raise the awareness to this kind of cooperation between Poland and Israel. As a result, the participants make the networks and connection much stronger, and by that also cooperation between our countries. These days, the comprehensive research regarding the outputs of the project and its influence on the participants' life is taking place at the University of Adam Mickiewicz in Poznań. Naturally, Jewish-Polish relations took significant part of the discussions during the program. But again, however, it is extremely important to mention for me that issues of Holocaust and complicated history of the Second World War have never been the center of our activities. We understood that already at 2010, and we decided that we would like to contribute to future and innovation and to think out of the box. Believe me, that was very not easy at the beginning. However, thanks God, we already can see the achievements of this vision. Jewish people and Polish people lived alongside each other for some 1,000 years, sharing different spheres of life as culture, finance, and society. We want to focus on that. Therefore, we are sure that today grows future, and we always focus on the idea of practical fulfilling of the relations and its real and huge potential. Moreover, it's crucial for us to include to our programs representatives of all the spectrum of Israeli society. We used to talk about Jewish-Polish relations, but representatives of Israeli minorities like Arab Christians, Muslims, Druze, and Cherkessians took part in the Living Bridge Poland-Israel project as a single representatives of academic institutions or local communities. Today, taking under consideration the complicity of the situation with the coronavirus and rising wave of violence in Arab society in Israel, we found it extremely crucial and important to raise the awareness of European values on base of successful shared learning with the Polish colleagues. Leading experts from academic, law, education, and social work fields are taking place in building, consulting, and supporting a group of young Arab leaders who are key figures in their local communities, director of youth departments and community centers, in a new and unique project that happens in Israel first time and supported by the Embassy of Poland in Israel. Our goal is to develop active citizenship, leadership, and responsibility. In the nearest future, when the routine will return, we hopefully expect and hope to organize study visit to Poland in order to share knowledge and experiences between experts from both countries, as well to promote Polish values of education, culture, and overcoming the challenges in different communities of the country. Main goal of this project is to prevent local and family violence and aggression, to involve decision makers and local leaders, to raise the awareness to the issue of women leadership, involving social and national media, teachers and educators, to create active dialogue in our societies. Special thanks to our partners in Human and Nature Association and also for the Jagiellonian Educational Academic College in Jerusalem for cooperation in these so complicated times. I would like especially to thank and to appreciate the vision of the Polish authorities and the efforts of the support. Without them, we're really not able to achieve the outcomes we have today. Special thanks for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland and to Polish Embassy in Tel Aviv. I also would like to mention the support of Chancellery of Prime Minister of the Republic of Poland for their support. Thank you very much for your attention and hope that better days will come for us soon and hope for fruitful cooperation.
Thank you very much, Vera and Dominika. And actually, I would just, before jumping to the gentlemen, I would just like to say that we actually saw each other with Dominika, Vera, and Boaz yesterday evening because we had a meeting with the David Yerin College over the project that is being conducted among the educators from Poland and Israel. So we really cooperate very closely. I also had a Zoom session yesterday evening with the future diplomats who are today with us. And now I'm jumping to you guys. Maciej Gorazdowski, Tomi Levy, and Ofek Sapir with a question. What do you bring to the table? You've been cooperating for quite some time already at the invitation, as far as I know, at the invitation and inspiration from Julia Mackiewicz from the Polish Institute. And I think that you can bring a lot of innovation, a lot of new thinking. If you haven't seen their Insta stories about the anniversary of the reestablishment of the diplomatic relations between Poland and Israel, you have something to regret, and we'll be happy to share them when the conference is over. Guys, the floor is yours. Maciej, would you like to start?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam. What each of us can bring to the table of the relations is the question. I think the answer to the question may be as vague as the question is itself. Me personally, what I can bring to the table of the relations is the notion of the. It was already mentioned in some context in the previous panels. The notion of the departure from the historical context, not detachment from the historical context, because as some prior panelists already said, the historical context of our relations will always accompany us and will emerge eventually one day or another in the future. But to keep it, let's say, in the back of the head while doing other. Making other types of relations, business relationships, relationships in academia, so that we can somehow move from the business relations we establish to the more expanded cultural and historical context. Why is that? That's because we have to state that clearly, that we live together in nowadays in a capitalist world. The process of making of profit is at the very heart of many business institutions, and through that we can expand to further fields of cooperations. When we have established the process of making profit or profit expectancy, we can build personal relations between ourselves, and that's my attitude to this question. Gentlemen, maybe you can add something else to what I have said.
Yeah, I'll continue your line of thought. So first of all, thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'll address your question in a form of a story. In my day job, I work with teenagers who suffer from mental health and emotional problems. And when they have a certain problem or some behavior that we want to take out of the equation, a void creates. A void is being presented. And you can't take something else without filling it with something else. And I think that's the way to approach the change in narrative that we want to perform in the relationship between the countries. So if I'm speaking from a young person's point of view, I want to create a dialogue. I want to create a face to the country. So if you can think of all the countries that you visited and the culture that you absorbed, the most common, the most frequent ones that you'll remember will be the one that you have a face to connect, someone that you've met, someone that you've known in your visit there. And I think that if we want to make the relationship way better than it's right now and promote it to the next level and innovate it in a social way, not only in a technological way, we need to bring people together, and we need to bring people together in order to speak and to get acquaintance to one another. And if I'm speaking more pragmatically, for example, you have Couchsurfing, which is an amazing platform to get to know people. And I know that I've hosted people from Poland, and now I have someone there that I know and I can go visit. If I'm speaking of going to the tour in Warsaw and in Auschwitz, it's an amazing opportunity for teenagers to get to know each other, you know, what's the other side, what's the other perspective besides what you came to see. And I think a connection and ideas and innovation and collaborations in projects starts with getting to know each other, starts with putting a face to the country. And I think that's what's coming up. That's what my generation wants to bring to the table.
Thank you so much, Tom. Ofek, please.
Thank you for having me in this panel. It's been, until so far, it was amazing. The panelists, the other panels that were before, was very interesting and fascinating. Before we are talking about what young professionals bring to the table, we need to see why make young professionals more important when we talk about international relations. So when we talk about young professionals, we're basically focusing on those young professionals representing the past, talking on today, and working towards the future. It's very unique for young professionals because they're still not much more involved in the diplomacy occurring today. They're representing the past of their countries, and they think about the future. So that's the importance of having young professionals in public diplomacy. What we can bring to the table, I think, in the other panels we talked about the history, most of it about decision made by politicians and things that happen between the countries. I think history is much more wider and much more bigger than those events or the Holocaust, because as mentioned before, there is Jewish history in Poland goes away 1,000 years until now so far. There is a big connection especially between the Jewish community in Israel and the Jewish community in the world, actually, to Poland, because Poland was the Jewish center in Europe. And Justyna mentioned that Lech Kaczynski quote that we're cousins. I really feel it's like more 1,000 years of Jewish culture in Poland. It's make us more than just cousins. That's what I think. What we can bring up to the dialogue between the countries, I think with remembering the past, we need also to see what the future is up to us. So as Israel is mentioned a lot of times as startup nation. So we can basically elaborate this cooperation in technology, in innovating new programs, innovating new thoughts. And the way to do it is approaching, is getting approached by young diplomats and young professionals. They should lead it because, as Irit said, the youth diplomats of today are the next diplomats for the next 30 years. So they need to lead this step forward and making new programs, new things, innovating, and building up the future between the countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ofek. I think Ewa, do we have time for 2 questions? Because that's how many I can see in the chat.
Yes, but I would kindly appreciate the short answers. Thank
you. One question is regards to startups. Is it possible to actually have venture capitals between Poland and Israel? And I think Edith, maybe you can contribute to this answer, because as far as I know, there is at least one big VC operating between Poland and Israel, that is TDJ Pitango. And I think personally that there is a scope for many more, because the cooperation between Poland and Israel, in particular in terms of technology, high technology innovation, is is flourishing, isn't it?
I think it is already, as you said, a flourishing field. I think it could be one of the most successful fields of cooperation between Israel and Poland on that level. I think we have much more to learn from each other and share best practices. I can say that at the embassies here, we're doing a lot of activities which actually answer those typical same questions. We did the startup bootcamp for people who want to know how to raise money, how to connect to VCs, how to do the whole process between Israel and Poland, how to pitch your idea the right way, or I don't know, the Israeli way. I don't know if it's the right, but it works from what we can see now. So we are engaging a lot on this activity. So if anyone wants any information about that, because I feel like we need to be very specific, they can either follow us on our Twitter, on our Facebook, on our LinkedIn, or we have a newsletter regarding innovation with all the activities and all the things that we are doing, and it's usually open to the public with the best Israeli experts, including Pitango and many more. So we'll be more than happy to share that information and to help make those links happen.
Thank you so much, Edith. The other question is, well, even though we focus very much on the future here and today, we also, need to speak about the history. So, and we have a lot of, joint history. We have a personal question to Dominika Zakrzewska, whether she knows if she's in any connection with Ala Zakrzewska from Warsaw, who's now 72 or 73. Maybe it's someone close to Jona Greenberg who is asking this question. I don't know if you want to answer that, because it's really a private one, but who knows?
So it's actually interesting coincidence of names, because my sister name is Alicia, which is Ala, but I don't have really connection with the person that is mentioned here. However, it would be really interesting to get in touch and figure out whether there is some further family connections there. So I will be happy to be in touch personally with Fiona and figure out.
Okay. I don't see any other questions, but before we close this panel, I would just like to, because we speak about innovation, reinventing, diplomacy, and so on and so forth, I would just wish to draw your attention to one of the innovations that our embassy is now has just developed and has been introducing to you all to make this context between Poland and Israel and these bridge building activities much more possible, even though Corona makes traveling impossible or hardly possible these days and these months, and hopefully not these years. We are introducing an application, a project matching application. And if you wish to download it, it's obviously free of charge. It's been developed together with a Polish company, Meeting Application, and it's a platform for everybody who wishes to seek and find partners for Polish-Israeli projects. I will just share my screen to show you how it looks like. And you can download it for Android from Google Play right now. And soon it will be also available for iOS from the App Store. That's how it looks like. And you can find it, in Google Play when you type Poland, Israel together. And we invite you and your organizations, your institutions to join this community, to build this community, this networking space together, and to find partners for your projects and for your initiatives together. I'm going to stop here. I wish to thank all of the panelists who have been at this panel together with us. It's been a huge pleasure to have you here, especially because everybody is so close to me, and I really had a panel that I wished for, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions to us, you can always get in touch with us. We will very much appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kasia, for very interesting panel.